The Saints are 0-3 after a 44-13 clown show in Seattle. The first quarter alone, a failed push-tush, a punt return touchdown, a block punt, and penalties. All the penalties. 8 of them in the first half, 2 more declined. It was like NFL Films released a blooper reels of the Saints playing. And in the locker room, there's no sugarcoating it. Players flat out said it feels like shit. Their words, not ours. Then there's the offense. Where's the seasoning, Mike? Right now it's bland. British level bland. Just salt and pepper, except the Saints left the pepper back in the Superdome. So today, let's break it down. The penalties, the chaos, and whether this team can keep it together before Buffalo buries them under a mountain of excellently seasoned wings and a side of blue cheese.
So grab a drink, preferably a stiff one, pull up a chair and join us at the Transatlantic Tailgate.
The Saints, the city, and me. Two guys from across the sea. The Saints, the city, and me. Procrastinators and MKC Papa. Go down.
Right, back. Mike, before we get started, that is a very nice hat. I like that hat.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at those two handsome cartoon-like characters on it. Might have to
Yeah,
take
very
this off.
nice.
It's a bit warm,
I'm
but
getting a-
I took it off earlier and boy, my hair is skinned back off my head. So I might not.
maybe
Yeah.
just suffer like we suffered last night until 12:30 in the morning or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that was suffering.
It was.
That was suffering.
I mean, we could spend the next 20 minutes trying to talk about some redeeming sort of features to the game. There were none.
There are none. This one is coming in hot. I'm going to turn heel. I got no positives. We're just going to have to talk about the game.
Yeah, we said, didn't we, like the preceding weeks, the good thing about even in defeat, you could see a little chinks of chinks and rays of sunshine. There was nothing. There literally, I can't think. I mean, there are a couple of tiny things, but they're irrelevant in the bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, the jersey, the uniform looked good. That's all I've got. All I've got. The first outing of the ice white helmets, and they play like that.
Yeah. I mean, it just from start to finish, wasn't it? It was just, it left you almost speechless. But our Saints, they never leave you speechless. But that 94-yard return, just shocking anyway. I mean, you can talk about, was there a block in the back? There probably was. I mean, the fact that the guy put his hands up after doing it sort of told you that it was. The stats are just, won't go through the complete stat line, but it was, I think they'd had at the half, was it just over 7 minutes possession? They had 38 points. I think they'd rushed just under 10 yards. They had 38 points, and I think they did about 20, 21 plays. It made
I'm sure there was a stat that said the average starting position for the Seattle Seahawks in the first half was the Saints' 35-yard line.
Yeah.
That's just.
I mean, I don't know. Like, you could go through it in chronological order, but actually, you might as well just, as you're talking about it, just remember what other shit show you saw there.
Well, the other thing with the punt return, right? It was a great punt. Like that punt was being landed in the within the 5 yards of the end zone.
I know,
but he outkicked his coverage.
But they say that. But literally, when you see the first two people on, I'm going to call them ordinary teams, they were in 5 yards of him. So he might have slightly, outkicked the coverage, but it wasn't horrendous. But they've got to be there, and they, missed tackle. I mean, you literally go through a list of Saints-isms. They were all in
almost
there.
Almost like they released a first-team All-Pro special teamer in the off-season.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the wrong move. You don't make All-Pro a couple of years on a couple of times JT Gray made All-Pro, right? Elite special teamer, and then you have a play like that, and the players, it's not a coincidence, right? And we'll get onto it. I've got concerns around the roster management of this team right now. Like,
Yeah,
I texted you in the week about it, and I was like,
yeah.
this just doesn't feel organised,
No,
is
and
my
then
view.
that's probably speaks to maybe a bigger concern and issue.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, before we get, so my concern is, right, the amount of transactions that have taken place on this team since the 53-man roster was announced, and it's just, it screams to me that that they just don't know who their players are that should be on this 50. Like, forget the Hunter Decker's up and down thing. That's just balance sheet exercises, right? He's there as a buffer so they can move people around, and he's on a promise, right? The whole tight end situation, the tight end we thought was going to get cut makes a 53. He gets cut this week. They promote the ones that were, were waived in the summer and signed to practice squad. We all saw who the best tight ends were out of those three in preseason, and the one who looked the worst was the one they put on the roster, and now they've cut him. And it just screams to me roster mismanagement.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
the
just
larger
Fadil
picture,
Diggs in and out and stuff. It's like,
the
I don't
larger
get it.
picture with the roster management, I think, is a concern. Like, yeah, again, tight end wise, we know that two of our three main tight ends are actually, are on the pup list at the moment. So the rest of the tight ends feel like much of a muchness. And I know, obviously, in the preseason, this one might look better than that one, but we're not seeing it in training camp. We don't know what they're doing. But as you're saying, the fact that you're elevating and then it just, yeah, that fit. But the whole roster management structure seems a little bit weird. We all know at the beginning of the season that there are going to be manipulations of the roster. As you're saying, it's like a balance sheet exercise as well.
Yeah,
But it just
it
seems
just feels
it feels a bit
chaotic.
chaotic at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that word I want to pull out, and I think it will be a continuous thread throughout this episode, is organisation.
Yeah.
Lack of
Yeah.
organisation.
Well, yeah, I mean, yet again, we're talking about in your intro, you said about the 8 penalties in the first half and there were, 2 declined. I mean, when we were watching it last night with the guys, it felt almost comical, you know. We could, and
Yeah.
again, our expectations this year are not very high. So, the argument would be from a lot of people, and to a point, maybe rightly, virtually everyone predicted us to lose the first 4 games. Yeah, that's fair. The first 2, the manner of defeat was acceptable.
Yeah, there was
Yesterday,
there was things to be excited about within those.
the manner of
There were
defeat yesterday,
moments, yeah.
yeah, but that was unacceptable because, you look at the score and the score actually does us some favors because that could I mean, we were all sitting there thinking, right, they're going to put 60 on us easy. And they obviously didn't, and the biggest slap in the face is that they took out loads of starters. That just tells you everything you need to know.
Well, I said to you that I was worried that Kubiak would put his foot on
Yeah.
our throat and go, I'm not letting off," because because essentially they fired him, right? They didn't keep him on, whatever else. Yeah, they obviously just took their foot off the gas a little bit. And they only scored 6 points in the second half, but I think it was because they were putting the backups in, and they was a bit like, "Well, we've won this game now. Business is
but and
done. We can
also
take
but
half the
also
week off."
yeah, exactly, but they're on a short week, so
Yeah.
it makes absolute sense for them to do that, but from our point of view, that's a bit of a bitch slap, but yet again, you're talking about organisation and the penalties. Yet again, that's the thing for me is that you're not clearing them up. From the first week, it was like, God, this seems like the same old Saints at the beginning of the season problem. Second week, slightly cleaned up. There wasn't a lot of pre-snap. This week was just chaos, absolute chaos. What do we? Right. So is that to do with the sound in the stadium? We know that's going to be the case. Everyone who's played there would tell you. So what the hell was going on? Because it was just constant.
So I've read all the NOF stuff today, listened to Ross. I've consumed as much as I could tolerate whilst I was trying to work and be a good manager for my team, so I'm not moody.
Yeah.
Again, the underlying tone was organisation, lack of preparation. They kept saying, everyone was saying lack of preparation, unacceptable lack of preparation going into this game, right? So you've called out a key point there. The noise in that stadium, right? The amount of false starts and the way that it's been presented and driven home by the writers, I'm going to make a call, right?
Mm.
I don't think they had a silent snap count. And I
Yeah.
think they didn't have one in place, and I don't think they were practicing it properly
Well, look,
because they're
whether or
all
not,
saying the same thing.
yeah, but look, they may well have had one on, but they probably haven't worked on it to the
Yeah.
levels that they should. I mean, the bottom line,
Yeah.
they went up to Seattle early, didn't they? So you thought they would have been really organised, really well prepared. But obviously, I think on the coverage last night, didn't they say that they were out on a boat on Friday?
Yeah, boat trip. Kellen Moore wanted to take them around the
all well and
Seattle
good getting
Sound.
team bonding. The best team bonding you can get is actually performing on the pitch. They're at a win, a defeat, or a draw. Yeah, but
Winning's the
even
best way to bond.
winning. But even if you're not winning,
Yeah.
those first two games, we talked about it last week, especially when Spencer Rattler, did that scramble, ran 10 yards, broke 4 tackles. You know that the team are thinking, yeah, that's our QB. In this game, I don't think anybody looked around and thought, yeah, that's my quarterback, that's my linebacker. I just don't think anybody looked at that. I think it felt disparate. It just felt like there was no cohesion. And that means that and we know what Saints Twitter is going to be like, and we're going to be part of it as well, because something's just not right. It doesn't feel right. And I know obviously it's only one defeat, and obviously, some of our players aren't good enough. But it felt like the coaching wasn't good enough. And you got that with those when we went for it on 4th down twice, once from the 50-yard, and we didn't get it. But then we don't go for it when there's an opportunity to get some points on the board just before half time. I mean, what is that about? I know Kellen Moore said he wanted some points on the board, but what's the point of getting 3 points when you're 38-3 down? What's the point?
I know. And that again concerns me, his decision making in games. You had the timeout issue in the first game. You got this issue in this game. I don't know which podcast it was, right? It might have been James and Dome Patrol. And they were talking about who has Kellen Moore learned to be a head coach under, right? Forget being a coordinator. Who's he learned to be a head coach under? Jason Garrett, arguably, got a bit of a wet blanket, right? Brandon Staley. Well, look what Brandon Staley was like as a head coach. I was being polite there, wet blanket, right? Mike McCarthy, when he was at the Cowboys as well, who, again, not particularly inspiring individual. And then Nick Sirianni, who this time last year, they were calling for him to get fired because he was such a bad people manager and he was awful. And then they obviously turned the season around. Who's he learned to be a head coach under? He hasn't had Bill Parcells like Sean Payton did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He hasn't had the Shanahan tree where they're all coming down under Mike Shanahan and stuff. He's a bit of a nomad, right? In terms of who he's learned from. I hate to say it, something don't feel right to me. Like maybe he's learning, got to give him time, but I'm getting major DA offensive coordinator version vibes. That's my view. I'm being very harsh. I've turned heel, right? I've turned heel. I'm not babyface anymore. For all those WWE fans out there, turned heel for one episode only because this game was absolutely insufferable. It was just the comedy of how bad it was that got me through it. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're right about maybe the tree that he's come from. And, he is brand new coach with essentially a new QB, a fairly young roster, maybe not the most talented roster. It looks like he's learning on the game, and that can't be the case. I mean, I say that can't be the case. Of course, as a first-time coach, you've got to learn on the game. But there just feels like there isn't somebody there who's there almost giving him an arm around the shoulder and sort of pushing him towards how you need to be the head coach of a team. Again, you look at it from an OC point of view, I think it was okay. Spencer, yet again, none of this is on Spencer. I think he's
doing the best with what he's given, right?
He was as efficient as he could be. There are a couple of throws where you thought actually lead your player rather than, but he was, I think, as efficient as he possibly could be in this game. I think we've spoken about running AK down the throats of the bloody front. Yet again, I think you touched on it. It's just DA-like, isn't it?
So two observations there, right? One, people saying that a lot of people saying that Spencer Rattler wasn't leading his receivers, which I would say from watching the game, I don't think he did. But which was
Yeah.
the biggest criticism that all the anti-Carr fans had. A lot of us had
Yeah.
that. We said he don't lead
Yeah,
the
yeah.
receiver. He wants a receiver where he's thrown. So there's that, which is the irony. And the other irony is we absolutely crucified Pete Carmichael for using Alvin Kamara like he was Jerome Bettis or Derrick Henry, just like charging him up the middle. And Kellen Moore's doing exactly the same. Alvin
Yeah.
Kamara played, I've got a snap count here. Alvin
Yeah.
Kamara played 74% of snaps yesterday, which isn't that high, but I feel like all of them were just, there was no some of those passing plays for him. No, it was all straight up the middle. And surely that's what Devon Neal, who was a healthy scratch yesterday.
Yeah, which
What's that
again,
about?
that's what. Yeah, what is that about? I mean, Alvin got it was 18 for 42. I mean, those, they're just sorry figures for somebody who's out there, who's a talent, who's actually, as you're saying, just doesn't seem to be given an option. I mean, some of them literally, I don't know how many times he must have got negative yards on his plays. They were at it before he even. I think there was one play where actually I think they were on him before Rattler even released the ball to him, which that again shocking.
Is that predictable play? Like, I think Kellen Moore's play calling is bang average vanilla, right? It's, you go to the ice cream shop and you just say, give me just give me the plainest flavour you got. I don't want anything fancy. Don't give me no pecans. Don't give me no rum and raisin. I just want vanilla, right? That's what it feels like. And you can see that at Rattler's throwing, right? Rattler averaged 5.6 yards per attempt yesterday. And that's consistent. So I saw a stat. I can't remember. I don't know if it was Freaky Peasy or whatever it is, or Payroll or whoever.
I know the one you're talking about. Alave
and Shahid's average reception yards or yards after whatever it was, they're halved this season.
Yeah.
Basically, this season is half what their average was the last 4 seasons.
Yeah. So 20,
Now,
right. He was 22, was 17.5. 23 was 15.5. Last year was 17.5. This year, 9. Olave in 22 was 14.5. 23 was 13. 24 was 12.5. This year, 7.5. Well, not even 7.5. Yeah,
I'm not being funny, right?
Yeah.
I said this last night. If you're sitting at home and you've got a Ducati motorcycle in your garage and the only thing you use it for is to go around the block at 20 miles an hour, what's the point of having Ducati? And that's how I feel about Rashid Shaheed. He's the most explosive player we've got on offense when it comes to big explosive plays, and they don't use him. And what's the point? You might as well trade him. Just trade him, because if you're not going to use him as a deep threat, he's not a contested catch receiver.
No. But also yesterday, as a game and as an example, yet again they went up so quickly, and the game was over literally within the first quarter. It felt like they just played shell, didn't they? It was like there was no opportunity for that. So we're not taking this one game as our example. We're taking the previous 2 as well. I think we've already said it. Did we? And I think after the first game, Dan, you said, is that on Rattler or is that on Moore? So we're probably at a point now. Like I don't think yesterday's was the greatest example because I think of the way that the game played out, but still. You would have thought even regardless of, if you look at the game yesterday with the Eagles, and they were struggling, and they realised they've got AJ Brown, who is a dominant receiver when he's on his game, and in the second half of that game he was on his game. It didn't matter if there were 2 or 3 players around him; they were getting him the ball, and he was winning the ball, and he was getting yards after the catch. That feels like an issue to us, because at the point where we're at, it was like, right, we need to go and throw it to our main man or our main men. Doesn't matter whether it's a contested catch. They've got to get it and get yards after the catch and get us up the field. That doesn't happen.
And there was a couple of decent catches that players went up and got the ball. I think there was an Olave one when he went and took it out of the air, and Johnson had a good catch on one of the plays as well. But it's like Kellen Moore ain't got a Devontae Smith here, like a scrappy wide receiver who can get separation and will have a little ruck with you if you want, despite he looks like Scrappy Doo. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, who's going to do that here? Where's your Steve Smith? Where's your wide receivers go? I'm gonna grab the ball and I'm gonna grab your face mask while I'm going and take you down the field with me. They ain't got that. And good coaches find a way to win. And yesterday felt like he just thought, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, keep chopping wood.
Yeah, and yet again, I think as a sample, I'm not entirely sure when you're talking about that, the bigger picture with the wide receivers and, and bombing it down the field. I don't know if yesterday is a great example purely because of the way the game played out. Overall, so far this year, I think that is a great example because those stats that we just dug up about Olave and Shaheed, that speaks volumes. That really, really does. We all know that everybody, would not everybody, but a large proportion of Saints fans would get on Carr for whatever reason, us included. But you knew that at least once in a game there was a bomb going to Shaheed, and more often than
Yeah.
not, he caught it.
Shaheed and Derek Carr was more exciting than what we've, and that's not a slight on Rattler, right? Because these are the plays
No.
that are being called. But again, Chris Olave is one of the crispest, cleanest, best route runners in the NFL. And what you use him on just crossing routes or throwing him, like getting him to run routes where he's going straight into double cut. There was one play yesterday where it was triple. They threw it as a triple cut. I'm moving on to defense here. There was one where Rattler threw it and it was almost in triple coverage and we did all right. They threw it into triple coverage against our corners and they, no problem for them. No problem.
Yeah.
But maybe that's it. Teams are taking the top off our game, right? They're just saying, you're not going to throw it. And Moore hasn't got an alternative.
No, and every phase of the game, yet again, I called them ordinary teams, and that's what it felt like yesterday. I mean, that game felt done and dusted, literally within the first quarter, and most of that was on the special teams.
Yeah.
And
Special
yet
teams.
again,
I'd have left him there. I'd have left Phil Gallio there. I'd have said, get your own flight back, mate. That was so bad. I'd say, you're on your own.
No, and yet again, that's what you got to look at. It's like, that they weren't great from that point of view. The game was done literally whilst the game was in their hands, and that is not a great space to be in.
It was a disaster, special teams.
That you got that, and then obviously,
disaster.
And everything else, sort of falls apart after that. It's like, you could, could we say the sort of defense held up in the second half? You could. But they'd taken their foot off the gas. They knew they got a short week.
They did. Yeah, they did well at stopping the run, I thought. Like only 89 yards Seahawks got.
Yeah. But then that's not what lost us the game. Do you know what I mean? As I say, we're going over the same thing.
Discipline lost us the game, and
Absolutely.
poor execution and poor planning. And you put the players in that position. No wonder, like Justin Reed's in the locker room going, "This is shit," and Cam Jordan saying, "This feels horrible." Because they're not being in a position to even be able to be competitive because they've already lost the game within 8 minutes. It's like by the first quarter, the game was over. It was like a massacre. But then I get annoyed. Right, I get annoyed. Like Cam's like, oh, hang on, let me finish. Let me finish. Cam's like, we're not good enough team to overcome this. But I love Cam Jordan, right? But I'm fed up of this shit every bloody season when they lose a 24-hour rule. No, make a difference. Do something on the field that makes a difference. Don't keep saying I've got a 24-hour rule and we're going to do something. Do you know what I mean? Do something. Sorry.
Breathe.
It annoys me.
But it does. It's like, but at the moment, yet again, it doesn't matter. Well, and here's the crux of it. It doesn't matter who the coach is, it would appear. It feels
same
like
message.
Every year for the last 3-4 years, it's the same thing over and over again. The only difference is we're getting worse. 4 seasons ago, there was a chance we could have made the playoffs because our division is so crap. Yeah. That's getting less and less now because every year we're just getting a little bit worse. And then that's when you have to start asking questions up here, not down there. Yeah. And that has to be the case. It has to be the case that questions have to be asked, from a housekeeping point of view, because the housekeeping is not good enough.
No.
So
I don't like the O-line is banged up, whatever. It's not, at the start of the season, we was going, oh, it's a strength. It doesn't look like a strength now. But I question, like, who's coaching these guys? Because if you look in the offensive coaching room, they're all bloody quarterbacks. Moore was a
Yeah,
quarterback.
yeah,
Nussmeier was a quarterback. Who's in there? Who's the big? Do you know that geezer on when the Browns were on Hard Knocks, with a big
yeah.
old belly, and he would go, huh! And his belly would flip up. Where's that one of them? Where's that big old fat geezer who's like, I ain't running through you, boy? I mean, we got Jari in there. Jari's probably fighting for his life trying to coach these players up.
Yeah, but yet again, look, I think the point you make about the O-line, I think yet again, from straight out the gate, we're to a point slightly decimated on there because you've like,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm being
yet again,
flippant.
no, I know, but so obviously, and yet again, when you go back to Spencer Rattler, in every single game that kid has played, he has never had a full strength O-line sitting in front of him. So, fair play to him. He's obviously improving as a player. Now, is he going to be the player that can take your franchise forward? That's yet to be seen. I sort of maybe doubt it, but you got to give him props because he is improving behind that O-line and it's decimated. It would be lovely to get the full strength O-line out there and see what happens. It would be lovely to get Chase Young back and see what happens. What the hell is that about? Because if he doesn't play, then it's 4 games. I think you said it before. Why didn't we just fry him on IR? But we haven't yet again. And we're getting there doesn't seem like when it first happened, there was a little bit of positive. Oh, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. We've heard nothing since. We haven't got a clue what's going on with him.
So it's the same old, though, isn't it? Right? It's the same old from like 3 years ago when a player would
Yeah.
get injured, they go, oh, and then they don't go on IR and they miss like 8 games. He's like, what is? No, there's complexities around putting a player on IR and
absolutely,
how many
yeah.
you could do and stuff. I get that and I understand it, but do you know what I mean? It's like Oshner again. It's Oshner again. You keep coming back to the same
Man,
things.
I cannot believe the Saints have defeated you. I've never heard you go, wash. I'm a pod.
I'm just so I've stewed on it. I've stewed on it all day, right? While I've been working, I've been thinking about it. I've been making my notes, and the more I was making my notes, I was like, "This is shit." I'm trying to cut down on the swearing because we want to get that 12 rating rather than the rated R. But it's just it broke me yesterday, right? If I hadn't have been watching with you lot, that's got to be the worst, definitely the worst game since that Bucks game. Do you remember that Bucks game like 2 years ago?
Oh, no, wasn't it the Packers game last year was brutal. Brutal for a couple of
Packers
reasons.
game was brutal, but it was 4:00 in the morning. So
No, the reason as a UK Saints fan why that was even more brutal because that was a late game. So
yeah.
the fact that you're still watching it at 3:30 when we're getting absolutely tossed aside was just, yeah.
I mean, I could see Rattler doing not staying here, going off and having like a Geno or a Sam Darnold experience somewhere with the right environment. I don't think he's, an out-and-out franchise quarterback, but he's got attributes that say he's a starter in this league somewhere and can be a starter and definitely can be a top backup somewhere.
But also,
I just come back to the same thing. Sorry, go on.
No, but you're making a point about, could he be on the Geno and Sam Darnold level? Probably could, because the thing that will be helpful to him and will be helpful to any QB is having a balanced, talented side with good coaching around you. The jury is out at the moment about whether we're being coached very well at the moment because it doesn't feel like it.
And it's not even just feeling like it, Mike, right? There are murmurs. Right? Go onto social media. People are dropping breadcrumbs all over the place.
Yeah, they are. Which yet again,
you've got nowhere to look. You've got nowhere to look from.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm sure. Hey, look, the next game.
The next game, as I said, a mountain of well-seasoned buffalo wings with blue cheese and maybe a little bit of celery on the side as a nod to the Trinity.
What's your flavor? Tell me what's your flavor.
My flavor, hottest ones I can get normally, within reason. I don't want to be doing death challenges where I can't sit down on a toilet for 2 weeks afterwards. Do you know, I had a friend once who did the hot wings challenger in Hoxton, Red Dog Saloon.
Heartland for anybody who wants to know.
Yeah, not a deep, dirty dive bar type barbecue, but yeah, he did the hot wings challenge there, right? he said he did it. He finished it. He thought he was going to pass out. He said his pee burned for 2 days afterwards from these hot wings. They
Yeah.
were that
I thought
spicy.
you were saying something else there. I thought you were saying his Penix was burning for 2 days
Well,
afterwards.
Penix was burning. That's what annoys me even more, right? That's what
You
annoys
don't
me even
like
more.
that segue?
I love that segue. I love that segue. But that's what annoyed me even more. The Falcons were awful against the Panthers, right? Didn't even get out. They didn't even get out their own 30-yard line or something like that or 35-yard line for a drive. Michael
Yeah.
Penix looked brutal, awful, like Kirk Cousins coming in for him. And then we go and do that, and I can't even gloat about it too much
No.
because by the time our game's on, I can't gloat anymore because we look rubbish.
To be honest, yeah, again, the thing about it is that, like, we're Saints fans, so we understand how awful we were yesterday. When somebody looks at our score, and if they look at the box score, if they just glance at the box score, they'll think, God, it was almost like the Saints are unlucky. Because the box score would say that was a tight game.
Yeah, but I've got the box score here, right? I've got the
Falcons, if you're looking at a Falcons result, you're thinking, my God, they got battered. What a shit show they are. So, you know, it's only fans that know what's gone on with their own teams, and also obviously your favourite enemies. But yeah, look, the difference being is that the Falcons believe that they're a team capable of getting to the playoffs. There isn't a single Saints fan out there at the moment, at the beginning of the season, who think we can get to the playoffs, and they certainly don't think that now. Therein lies the difference, is that the Falcons will be thinking, yeah, we're on a path. And they should be. The weapons they've got, the front they've got, they just happen to have picked up a top 10 QB who, unfortunately, this year so far, doesn't look very good.
Yeah, I thought it was a reach when they got him. I know a lot of people were saying the Saints should have tried to get him. Look, if you're going to tell me that Tyler Shuck's an old quarterback, I'm going to tell you Michael Penix is an old quarterback because there's like a year between them. But while we're on this...
Sorry, I was going to say, look, results, regardless of results, if yet again, if, you know, we've got a 5th round QB in his second year who has been a better QB this year than theirs has been. So, look, you know, that's the basic truth.
Yeah. And whilst we're on the subject of those dirty birds, right, I was scrolling through Twitter and I found out that the Atlanta Falcons UK podcast group, fan group, podcast group, whatever, our equivalent for the Falcons, they've got 8,000 followers. 8,000 followers, right? Look, I'm going to put it up here or here. It's going to be somewhere on the screen. I haven't edited it yet. If you watch on YouTube, you'll see it around somewhere. Big box, little box. Falcons are crap. Yeah, so this has got my goat, right? Because they're like the leading fan group podcast for the Falcons. And we need to raise our numbers, right? We've got rookie numbers compared to this. We need to show them that we've got a proper fan base here.
Yeah, we need some people over on the other side of the pond to help us out there.
I guarantee you, the majority of these followers are in the US, right? We just need you ain't got to listen to us all the time. We'd like you to, but just give us a follow so we can have a bit of bragging rights. Because at the minute we're trailing the other two, right? The other three. The Bucks are way ahead, and that's reasonable, right? Because they run a really good fan club.
They're established.
They are.
Years
They are a state. They've been going since the 80s. Take note, Saints. They invite their UK fans over to do stuff in Tampa.
Yeah, they put
4
stuff on
games. Put stuff on from. Even though there's no international marketing rights for the Bucks in the UK, but take note to the Saints. I know.
The US.
I know. I don't know which way they are.
US. National marketing rights don't apply over there.
They don't apply in the US, right? And I'm going to clip this and put it on Instagram because we've got dozens of Saints employees that follow us. Dozens. There are dozens of us. Dozens of us.
Dozens of them.
But yeah, please, right? If you're listening, if you're watching or listening and you don't follow us, our handle is the same on everything, right? Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, Saint City Me. Give us a follow up, please, and let's show these dirty birds that, you know, who the best team in the South is when it comes to fan following us. Yeah, anyway, that's on a tangent. What's my flavour?
And see, you'll get a bit of Craig David thrown in as well.
Well, I feel like I'm on 7 days yesterday.
Yeah.
you had the video for
Um,
7 days. It keeps going over and
only
over.
days of
Mike,
sobriety.
Mike, I'm going to ask you a question.
Go on then.
Where was the seasoning?
What's your flavor? Tell me what's your flavor. There was none. There was none. It was like eating an old soggy Nike. Oh, it was
I
like,
could cut that.
yeah. Well, basically, it was like eating plasticine. It really was. There was nothing there.
What's plasticine in the US? Is it plasticine?
No,
Play-Doh? Play-Doh?
Play-Doh. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like eating Play-Doh. I don't know, with a couple of straws made out of, I don't know, frozen urine.
My God. All right.
That's your
Okay.
flavour. What about you? Where's the seasoning, Dan?
Do you know what, right? I thought about this, and with all the false starts, personal fouls, Brian Brazil headbutting a geezer, which just screwed us over. There wasn't any seasoning, Mike. It was more like someone took the spice rack and just threw it on the floor. Just went there, made the best of that, because that's what it was. It was a disaster.
The tiny shred of seasoning would have been Riley picking up that rack. Yeah, because he eventually got in the game.
Do you
and
know
he
what?
did.
But you found a positive, right? Riley comes in,
But
great play from him.
yeah,
And Stutzman was flying around, wasn't he, for the 7 plays he was in for when they put him in. Just put him in, right? Just put him in. Because if I have to watch Isaac Yadam and Alonte Taylor just look as though they don't know what they're doing when anyone targets them, I'm going to have an aneurysm. Like, don't play Isaac Yadam anymore when you've got Quincy Riley, because it's going to cost you a 4th round pick. And would you trade a 4th round pick for Isaac Yadam? The answer is no.
no, and we've touched on this.
No.
We're at a point now where you got to give the young guys on the roster an opportunity. Look, can it get any worse than that? Even if you put them in, it might do, but then at least you know what you've got or you haven't got.
Can it get any worse? We're playing the Buffalo Bills on Sunday at 6:00. There is an open invite if you want to come to my house. A couple of people might be coming over and watch the game, suffer together. They're 3-0. Bills. Josh Allen, reigning MVP. Josh Allen, my favourite non-Saints player in the league. I think he's outstanding. How are we feeling about this one? How are we feeling about this one?
I think silence is golden, isn't it?
Do you know what? I want to give a little glimmer, that our boy.
So I was going to say it could be one of those. It could look if somebody in the building is capable of putting their boot up someone's arse or giving someone a rocket or giving people a rocket or making sure things are the way they should be. There's organization, there's accountability. I mean, you hear that word at the moment in the press conference. Yeah, all good. Let's see the proof of the pudding. Let's see that people are accountable. Let's see that they're going to go out there, they're going to do something, get a surprise. The Dolphins went there and they were in the game for virtually the whole game. And the Dolphins are not a particularly good team. So I'm talking myself into it. I believe we're going to get spanked, but you never know.
This is our team. This is our Saints. Blue. What's that? The Colts geezer. He's off his nut. He is.
Fair
do you know what? G brought something up in the Discord today, which I thought is a little glimmer. He said the one thing the Bills' weakness, perceived weakness for the Bills is they play with their food a little bit. So they'll dominate a team and not necessarily finish them off, which if we're going to be scrappy, if we're going to be determined, if we're going to look to these young players to go, we're not having this, then that might be a road in. If they don't kill us off, we can maybe stay close to them. Big thing is going to have to be limiting their mistakes. They will punish us on self-imposed errors. Do you know what I mean?
Well, look, you've got there are 2 QBs in the league who are the best with their feet. We obviously know Lamar is the best. He's probably going to end up and probably is already the best. Josh Allen's not a million miles behind, but also fantastic QB. Yet again, we're going to struggle with that, aren't we? It's like that's that. Yet again, we know that. They've got decent tight ends. We're going to struggle with that. The only thing is, you can hope that Fuaga is able to play, and you hope that Penny's in, and then we could actually see what that Yeah, and maybe there might even be a case where if those two do come back, then they've got enough surplus in that O-line depth where they could probably just boot Ruiz into touch for a period of time. Because that at some point,
But you've just antagonised me there.
nah, well, that's been
He's
easy on this one, mate.
he's just like I did the sent around a meme. You know the meme from Moneyball where Jonah Hill's character goes, "This is so and so. He does this, this is this. His only defect is he throws funny or whatever it
Yeah.
is." I did one with Cesar Ruiz. I said, "This is Cesar Ruiz. He can turn a 180 faster than any guard in the league. His only defect is he should be blocking in the first place so he doesn't have to do a 180 faster than anyone else in the league." He's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah, it's not good.
I've
Is
got
it?
nothing else to say.
I think we spoke about it this week, and I was trying to be, because you were
Diplomatic.
no, I was trying to be a bit more diplomatic, yeah. But look, the one thing I would say is like, look, next week's going to be next week. We know there's a really good chance that we're going to get our panties pulled down and we're going to be spanked. But there is a chance that the O-line might be good and we might be able to do something. But if that's the case, Kellen Moore has to be more creative with his play calling. The defense has to step up. Has to, just absolutely has to. The other thing to say is, look, regard whether people think it or not, we are in a rebuild. People are asking for this for years and years and years. This is where we are, and this is how it plays out. So let's, as we said, I think we were fair on reflection with the first two games. I think we've been fair on reflection with this game. But
I just needed to rant.
We're not in a
Yeah.
rebuild. Yeah, and
Yeah.
quite right. Honestly, mate, we sat and we watched it together. There were few of us guys on the Zoom, and eventually a couple of people just dropped out towards the end because it was like, I can't be doing this until midnight. And that's fair enough, and I get that because when we're over here, it's Monday morning. Next morning, people will get up
Yeah.
to work, and you're not going to
Oh,
put
it was
yourself.
hard work getting up this morning as
Yeah.
well. I struggled,
Yeah.
especially after Posty on Saturday night. Oh, my body's in bits.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't good me getting up this morning, seeing half the front of my house being pulled away. So anyway, we're in a rebuild. Come on, this is what a lot of fans were calling for, to suffer it now. And is one of them, so I'm willing to suffer it. I'm happy to suffer it. The highs, the lows, the indifference. Yeah, bring it on.
I think if you get to end of October and they ain't won a game, I start looking to trade some of those players to get them picks.
Bye, baby, bye.
I'd look at one of the wide receivers, maybe AK. Just get what you can from them. Let them trade them, do them good. Trade them to a team where they got a chance of winning something. If you're not going to keep,
I really showed my age
next
there,
year,
didn't I, with that choice of song.
I thought you was going to do. If we'd recorded yesterday, you could have done Earth, Wind and Fire, right?
Yeah,
It's
I wouldn't try and hit that note at the moment. Yeah, I think you're right. I think if there's no, and even if there are signs of improvement, actually, you sort of think if there are no signs of improvement, yeah, you might be saying bye bye to you could have done in sync. You could be saying bye bye to a few players.
Bye bye.
But even if you see signs of improvement, you probably could be saying goodbye to a couple of players because you want the picks, you want to be building. We're already going younger. We've already had a conversation about some of the pickups that they've already done, and we're happy with them. I was a little bit disappointed that Vele wasn't playing yesterday, and that concerns me because I know he had knee issues, didn't he?
Yeah.
I
was chatting to Di about it earlier, and he was saying about Olave if they was trading him, and he had a great shout. He's like, "Well, if India up there looked like they could have a push for the playoffs, a team like that comes in and goes, we'll chuck you multiple picks for him."
Yeah,
yeah.
There could be a team, and there's no doubt that he's talented. His first 2 years, I think he showed that talent. Obviously, last year, unfortunately, the concerns with his injuries, and this year
that's always going to be there, right? That's always going to be there.
Is,
so
also this year,
there's a risk reward element to it.
But also, he can't be happy because he's not being put in a position where he can show his full repertoire. Yesterday, again, and this is the thing I would say about Chris, and I'm really pleased in the second game where he dropped the couple and then he came back and he was fighting. And yesterday he was fighting. He only got about 50 yards, didn't he, or whatever it was, but he was fighting for everything. And that's a good thing to see. Now you just got to give him the opportunity. I mean, all during the preseason and training camp, all we kept hearing about players is the opportunity is this going to give me for yards after the catch. I ain't seen any of those opportunities for yards after the catch so far. Kellen Moore needs to step himself up.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah. Two questions for you, right? One's
Yeah,
a
go
pop quiz. The other's
Yeah.
opinion. Who do you think
Yeah.
had the most snaps for us on defense yesterday?
Kool-Aid.
Thankfully, not. To be honest,
Yeah, I know.
Jonas Sanka, 53 snaps. Him and Demario led the team in snaps. And obviously, Reed went out injured for a little while, didn't he? And come back on.
Yeah.
Surprised me though. Rookie safety. He's looks all right.
Yeah, but then again, we're thin there, aren't we? So
Yeah.
next man up and
But,
fair
well,
play.
maybe that's what happened. Maybe Tyron turned up for training, had a one look at the poor organisational training with the coaches and went, "No, I think I'm good for this year."
The only thing I'd say on that is that a lot of the interviews and the presses that you saw coming out of training camp, people were raving about it. But then maybe there was not enough work and a little bit too much leisure, as the Americans
Yeah, and
say.
I think some of the players who like to get in front of the camera have got one eye on a post-football media career, so they
Yeah,
like
but
to say the right things.
there was more than one or two who
Yeah.
were praising the structure of training camp to high heaven. So yeah, we
Not
can't.
AK though.
No, he was very reticent whenever he talked training camp. But hey, look, what was your second question?
Do you think after the Bills game they start Tyler Shuck? And this isn't a reflection on Spencer Rattler because I think this has been the plan all along.
Funny enough,
I think my view is. Sorry, go on. I'll let you finish and I'll tell you what I think.
No, I was going to say I don't think they will because, and I'm not saying that I think Spencer Rattler has surprised them, but Spencer Rattler has done nothing that would warrant him being dropped, in my
And
opinion.
I agree. And
But
I agree. I
I
agree
am-
entirely.
I understand what they may well have done when they brought Chuck in and thought, get through those games. Let's
Cannon
not get our
fodder.
QB, let's not get our QB sort of hospitalized, and then let's go. And yet again, and I'm saying this because, as I said, I don't think Spencer Rattler has done anything where he deserves that type of treatment. But you full well know that what was the point in picking Tyler Shuck 40th if you're not actually going to give him an opportunity? Because that's what we need to see next season.
I would say
Hmm.
if they did drop Rattler and he hasn't done anything to warrant being dropped, and then start Shuck, and then they open that playbook up and start pulling out more expensive plays, I think that's a little bit egregious.
Yeah,
I
and
think
you know,
that's not
yeah,
cricket for me.
I don't think they will. Sometimes I think, these almost like, and I'm not saying yours is, but almost like conspiracy theories are just like a little bit too far fetched. We'll have to
What are
wait
you
and
talking about?
see.
I've got my tin hats down here.
But I sometimes do think that people just want to play into these types of things, and we see it all the time. Let's see what happens. It's Sunday at the Bills. Even if we get a battering, as long as they show something in it, because you'd expect to be battered by the Bills because they're 1, 2, 3 in the NFL. Who knows? And at the moment we are 30th, 31st, or 32nd. Well, up until yesterday we weren't, but I think after yesterday you've got to say, all right, we deserve to be in the bottom 2 of current NFL teams. But hey, look, their opportunity to shine, turn it on, and show us something. And you hope, because they know that they're getting absolutely slaughtered from outside of the building. I hope that someone inside the building is slaughtering everybody and telling them they've got to do better.
Yeah. I think some of those people who are out there calling local writers cheerleaders for the team should go and have a read of some of these articles and listen to some of these podcasts, and then promptly apologise because there's no cheerleading right now. There's brutal honesty from the writers, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Because that's how you keep
Absolutely.
the team honest and keep them accountable. Right.
Indeed. So.
Well, it looks like we're going to get number 1 pick. So time to start studying college football a bit closer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who the quarterback's going to be, but
No, we'll have a look.
all right, that's all I've got. I'm all ranted out. Well, I could
You
keep
are.
going, but I'm not going to because
I'm all sung out. Can you edit that BT roller song out? I'm joking.
Oh, mate, I'm turning the volume up on that. If you like Mike's hat, we got loads of t-shirts we've done. DM us if you're interested. We got Where's the Seasoning? We got me and Mike. We got the old school logo. We got Mike swiftly moving on design. We got bikinis. We've got phone cases. We have got a bikini.
Oh my
And
God,
there's one of us on each. Yeah, but we're not gonna say where they are because last time we did a shop, someone shut it down for no reason at all. But if you fancy wearing some merch for us and giving us a bit of promotion, give us a shout and we'll send you a link.
If that bikini had been available when I was in Greece, I'd have worn that on that pod.
Well, they do a nice bomber, but it's out of stock at the minute in our sizes, but with a nice stitch logo. That's nice. So, yeah, any final thoughts, Mr. KC?
No, none whatsoever. Let's move on. Let's see where we are post Sunday's game.
Cool. Can I get a who dat?
Who that, baby?
Let's go.